My name is Andrea Dworkin. I am a citizen of the United States. And in this country where I live, every year millions and millions of pictures are made of women with our legs spread. We're called beaver, we're called pussy. Our genitals are tied up, they're pasted, makeup is put on them to make them pop out of a page at a male viewer. Millions and millions of pictures are made of us in postures of submission and sexual access so that our vaginas are exposed for penetration, our anuses are exposed for penetration, our throats are used as if they're genitals for penetration. In this country where I live as a citizen, real rapes are on film and are being sold on the marketplace. And the major motif of pornography as a form of entertainment is that women are raped and violated and humiliated until we discover that we like it. And at that point, we ask for more. In this country where I live as a citizen, women are penetrated by animals and objects for public entertainment. Women are urinated on and defecated on. Women and girls are used interchangeably so that grown women are made up to look like 5- or 6-year-old children surrounded by toys presented in mainstream pornographic publications for anal penetration. There are magazines in which adult women are presented with their pubic areas shaved so that they resemble children. In this country where I live, there is a trafficking in pornography that exploits mentally and physically disabled women, women who are maimed. There is an amputee pornography, a trade in amputee, women who have been maimed in that way as if that is a sexual fetish for men. In this country where I live, there is a trade in racism as a form of sexual pleasure, so that the plantation is presented as a form of sexual gratification for the black woman slave who asked, please to be abused, please to be raped, please to be hurt. Black skin is presented as if it is a female genital, and all the violence and the abuse and the humiliation that is in general directed against female genitals is directed against the black skin of women in pornography. Asian women in this country where I live are tied from trees and hung from ceilings and hung from doorways as a form of public entertainment. There is a concentration camp pornography in this country where I live, where the concentration camp and the atrocities that occurred there are presented as existing for the sexual pleasure of the victim, of the woman who orgasms to the real abuses that occurred not very long ago in history. In the country where I live as a citizen, there is a pornography of the humiliation of women, where every single way of humiliating a human being is taken to be a form of sexual pleasure for the viewer and for the victim, where women are covered in filth, including feces, including mud, including paint, including blood, including semen, where women are tortured for the sexual pleasure of those who watch and those who do the torture, where women are murdered for the sexual pleasure of murdering women. And this material exists because it is fun, because it is entertainment, because it is a form of pleasure, and there are those who say it is a form of freedom. Certainly it is freedom for those who do it. Certainly it is freedom for those who use it as entertainment, but we are also asked to believe that it is freedom for those to whom it is done. Then this entertainment is taken and it is used on other women, women who aren't in the pornography, to force those women into prostitution, to make them imitate the acts in the pornography. The women in the pornography, 65 to 70% of them, we believe, are victims of incest or child sexual abuse. They're poor women. They're not women who have opportunities in this society. They're frequently runaways who are picked up by pimps and exploited. They are frequently raped. The rapes are filmed. They are kept in prostitution by blackmail. The pornography is used on prostitutes by Johns who are expected to replicate the sexual acts in the pornography, no matter how damaging it is. Pornography is used in rape, to plan it, to execute it, to choreograph it, to engender the excitement to commit the act. Pornography is used in gang rape against women. We see an increase since the release of Deep Throat in throat rape, where women show up in emergency rooms because men believe they can penetrate, deep thrust to the bottom of a woman's throat. We see an increasing use of all of the elements of pornography in battery, which is the most commonly committed violent crime in this country, including the rape of women by animals, including maiming, including heavy bondage, including outright torture. We have seen in the last 8 years an increase in the use of cameras in rapes. And those rapes are filmed, and then they're put on the marketplace, and they are protected speech. They are real rapes. We see a use of pornography in the harassment of women on jobs, especially in non-traditional jobs, in the harassment of women in education, to create terror and compliance in the home, which, as you know, is the most dangerous place for women in this society, where more violence is committed against women than anywhere else. We see pornography used to create harassment of women and children in neighborhoods that are saturated with pornography, where people come from other parts of the city and then prey on the populations of people who live in those neighborhoods, and that increases physical attack and verbal assault. We see pornography having introduced a profit motive into rape. We see that filmed rapes are protected speech. We see the centrality of pornography in serial murders. There are snuff films. We see boys imitating pornography. We see the common age of rapists going down. We are beginning to see gang rapes in elementary schools committed by elementary school age boys imitating pornography. And we see sexual assault after death, where frequently the pornography is the motive for the murder because the man believes that he will get a particular kind of sexual pleasure having sex with the woman after she is dead. We see a major trade in women. We see the torture of women as a form of entertainment. And we see women also suffering the injury of objectification. That is to say, we are dehumanized. We are treated as if we are subhuman, and that is a precondition for violence against us. I live in a country where if you film any act of humiliation or torture, and if the victim is a woman, the film is both entertainment and it is protected speech. Now that tells me something about what it means to be a woman citizen in this country and the meaning of being second class. When your rape is entertainment, your worthlessness is absolute. You have reached the nadir of social worthlessness. The civil impact of pornography on women is staggering. It keeps us socially silent. It keeps us socially compliant. It keeps us afraid in neighborhoods. And it creates a vast hopelessness for women, a vast despair. One lives inside a nightmare of sexual abuse that is both actual and potential. And you have the great joy of knowing that your nightmare is someone else's freedom and someone else's fun. Now, a great deal has happened in this country to legitimize pornography in the last 10 to 15 years. There are people who are responsible for the fact that pornography is now a legitimate form of public entertainment. Number one, the lobby of lawyers who work for the pornographers. The fact that the pornographers pay lawyers big bucks to fight for them, not just in the courts, but in public, in the public dialogue. The fact that lawyers interpret constitutional principles in light of the profit interests of the pornographers. Number two, the collusion of the American Civil Liberties Union with the pornographers, which includes taking money from them. It includes using buildings that they own and not paying rent. It includes using pornography and benefits to raise money for them. It includes not defending them in court, but doing publicity for them, including organizing events for them, as the Hugh M. Hefner First Amendment Awards is organized by ACLU people for Playboy. It includes publishing in their magazines, both the lawyers and the writers. It includes deriving great private economic benefit from working privately for the pornographers while publicly pretending to be a disinterested advocate of civil liberties and free speech. And I want you to contrast the behavior of the ACLU in relation to the pornographers with their activities in relation to the Klan and the Nazis. They pretend to understand that they're all equally pernicious. But do they publish in the Klan newsletter? No. Do they go to Nazi social events? No. Do they go to cocktail parties at Nazi headquarters? No, they don't, at least not yet. Finally, they have colluded in this sense, that they have convinced many of us that the standard for speech is what I would call a repulsion standard. That is to say, we find the most repulsive person in the society and we defend them. And I say we find the most powerless people in the society, and we defend them. And that's the way we increase rights of speech in this society. Another group that colludes to legitimize pornography are publishers and the so-called legitimate media. They pretend to believe that under this system of law there is a First Amendment that is indivisible and absolute, which it has never been. As you know, the First Amendment protects speech that has already been expressed from state interference. That means it protects those who own media. There is no affirmative responsibility to open communications to those who are powerless in the society at large. As a result, the owners of media, the newspapers, the TV networks are comfortable with having women's bodies defined as the speech of pimps because they are protecting their rights to profit as owners, and they think that that's what the First Amendment is for. I'm ashamed to say that people in my profession, writers, have also colluded with the pornographers. We provide their so-called socially redeeming value, and they wrap the tortured bodies of women in the work that we do. Politicians have colluded with the pornographers in municipalities all over this country, and they do it in these ways. Zoning laws do not keep pornography out of cities. They are an official legal permission to traffic in pornography. And as a result, politicians are able to denounce pornography moralistically while protecting it through zoning laws. They impose it on poor neighborhoods, on working class neighborhoods, on neighborhoods where people of color live, and all of those people have to deal with the increase in crime, the terrible harassment, the degradation of the quality of life in their neighborhoods, and the politicians get to protect the property values of the rich. There is an equal protection issue here, why the state makes some people pay so that other people can profit. But that has never been raised. We've never been able to sue a city under the equal protection theory of this because lawyers are on the other side. Lawyers belong primarily to pornographers, and the people who live in these neighborhoods that are saturated with pornography are powerless people. They don't even have power in their own municipalities. In addition, in municipalities, what pornographers do is that they buy land that is targeted for development by cities. They hold that land hostage. They develop political power through negotiating around that land. They make huge profits, and they get influence in local city governments. Not finally, but next to the last, a great colluder with the pornographers was the last presidential commission. They were very effective in legitimizing pornography in this country. They appeared to be looking for a proverbial axe murderer who would watch pornography and within 24 to 48 hours go out and kill someone in a horrible and clear way. The country is saturated with pornography and saturated with violence against women and saturated with the interfacing of the two, and they didn't find it. None of the scientific research that they relied on to come to their conclusions is worth anything today. It's all invalid. I ask you to take seriously the fact that society does not exist in a laboratory, that we're talking about real things that happen to real people, and that's what we're asking you to take some responsibility for.